Hello, my name is Zaria Kangepe. I'm an undergraduate student and rising junior from Moraine Valley Community College, which is in the Chicago area. This summer, I participated in the Software Safety and Reliability RU at the University of Texas at Dallas. I decided to focus my research this summer on digital image security with a specific focus on AI image generation. Hence the title of this presentation, Exploring Machine Learning Vulnerabilities for Adversarial Image Security, Emerging Pathways Towards Protecting Artists from Style Mimicry by Text-to-Image Generators. So first, some background. So what is AI image generation? Well, AI programs have advanced to the point that even individuals without college degrees in computer science and with minimal interest in art can easily go onto a site like Stable Diffusion and generate highly detailed, evocative, artistic digital images in under 5 minutes. Here on this slide is a visual representation of the output from one of these image generators, Midjourney in this case. This increased accessibility to AI has led to increased concerns. On March 16, 2023, the U.S. Copyright Office launched a new initiative to examine the copyright laws and policy issues raised by artificial intelligence, including the scope of copyrighted works using AI tools and the use of copyrighted materials in AI training. And this was issued in direct response to the recent striking advances in generative AI technologies and their rapidly growing use by individuals and businesses. There's also some concerns about job displacements, like AI taking entry-level artist jobs in a variety of areas. Just this month, SAG-AFTRA joined the Writers Guild of America in demanding a contract that explicitly demands AI regulations to protect writers and the works they create. So here I've given a figure that gives a general timeline of the text-to-image generators that have been released over the years from 2015 to 2022. And for my specific research, I've actually focused on Stable Diffusion, which is open source, which I'll go more into later. So originally for my project, I wanted to focus on creating an all-purpose tool that could protect artists from any image generation model. But once I learned the full scope of all the image generators that are out there, I figured I would have to limit my focus. So based on my initial intuitions and preliminary research, I decided to focus in on Stable Diffusion since it's an open source software, and that would give me the ability to see the inner workings of the generator, which would allow me to more easily identify potential vulnerabilities that could be exploited. So on this side, I have an image that gives a sort of overview of how Stable Diffusion works. This one's a little complicated to decipher, so here I have a picture of Diffusion Explainer. It doesn't get into all the nitty-gritties of how Stable Diffusion works, but it's more easily understandable, I think. And so here you can see how text prompts, or it's illustrated how text prompts get turned into vectors that are then used to guide the image representation refiner, which is used to iteratively refine the image representation. And here's a more expanded representation of the iterative emergence of images in text-to-image generation. So over the course of multiple steps, you can see how the image is sort of refined. In essence, images created by text-to-image synthesis do not materialize immediately in their final form. Instead, text-to-image generation systems are iterative and take previous output as input for the subsequent step. Each piece of the prompt gets transformed into a vector, which is used to guide the image generation process over the course of multiple denoising steps. And here's another visualization of the diffusion explainer, but here you see provided is a refinement comparison view, which gives people the ability to see the impact that prompts have on image generation. And so essentially the prompts are basically the same, except on the top level, you have in the style of Pixar added, and you can compare the original image generated with the image prompt without the Pixar vector added, and when the Pixar vector is added. So what are style mimicry attacks? Um, Style mimicry attacks are when the works of a specific artist are used to fine-tune general text-to-image generation models. Then the mimic can produce a limitless amount of digital images in the style of that artist. And this is a concern for me, and I chose to focus my research on this issue particularly because many artists work hard to develop their styles over the course of years of deep study, and it can be a bit frightening to think that someone could come and mimic your style and possibly impersonate you and undermine your livelihood using your own work. So here is two examples of style mimicry results. On the left side, in each image, you see the original artist's artwork, and on the right side, you see the style mimicked artworks produced by the image generator. So on to my initial goal slash idea. Well, my initial idea was something like an invisible digital mask that could interfere with the AI's ability to read or decipher the image while having little to no perceivable effect on the overall appearance of the image. I thought steganography might be helpful towards or in implementing this idea. So what is steganography? It's an ancient art and science for communicating hidden messages. In the case of digital image steganography, the goal is to embed data into the image in such a way that the very existence of the embedded data is concealed. So in that case, there's a stego image, which is a digital image consisting of two files, the cover image and the message, the embedded data. And my idea was that the message can contain information that would disrupt AI functioning or corrupt the desired output. And here on the slide, you see on the far left is the original artwork. In the middle is a stego image produced using white noise. And you can see there's a lot of disruption there. It's pretty different from the original image. But on the right, there's a stego image that's produced using another method. And there's almost, you can't really tell much of a difference between this and the original image. So ultimately, my idea was to target the way images are read, and I was curious whether I can make a stego image that would be interpreted as a corrupted file, perhaps, or something similar, while also having the image be usable by the original artists in the ways they wish to use it themselves. So on to some related work. So to date, Glaze is the most similar existing tool to my proposed project idea. It's also the most recommended tool for artists to protect their digitally posted work from AI image generators and style mimicry attempts. In Glaze, a style cloak is applied to the image, which is used to mislead the AI image generators into misclassifying the style of the actual image, which interferes with the generator's ability to mimic the art style of the artist. It was actually released quite recently, in fact, just this past year, and it confirmed for me that digital image masking was a viable approach to protecting artists' work online. So how does Glaze work in general? Style transfer is used to produce a similar artwork in a different style. So here's the original image, and then below is the style transferred artwork, so a similar artwork but in a different style. And then you use that style transferred artwork as a projection target to guide the perturbation computation. And so the result is something in between the style transferred artwork and the original artwork at whatever point I suppose the artist is satisfied. And this cloak will lead the image generator to misclassify the image as a different style, which will interfere in its ability to mimic the actual style. So the development of glaze was actually informed in part by a well-known vulnerability that machine learning models have to data poisoning and their weakness towards adversarial examples in general. So what are adversarial examples? Well, given a natural image, an adversary can easily produce a visually similar image that has a different classification. Such an instance is known as an adversarial example. So on the next slide, I'll go more into that. So here is a sort of illustration of how adversarial examples can be generated or are generated. So the ultimate goal of adversarial example generation is to craft an input for a particular classifier that, while improperly classified, reveals only slight alteration on the original input. So here the original sample is 6, and the goal is to alter the image so that it gets classified as a 5 while still maintaining the appearance of a 6 as much as possible. So shown on this slide is an example of an adversarial attack in the medical imaging field. In this case, the adversarial example is created by using the original image and adding some carefully crafted perturbations such that the benign tumor is misclassified as a malignant tumor with 100% confidence. As you can see, the original image is basically indistinguishable from the adversarial example produced to the human eye. So now on to my project development and the limitations I encountered. So I used the style mimicry attack threat model that was proposed by and used by Glaze in order to help sort of guide my research or give a framework to my project. In this attack threat model, you see the artist post work online, and then the mimic scrapes the artwork off the web and downloads a generic text-to-image model and fine-tunes the model using the scraped artwork, and this results in a style-specific model, which can then be used to generate artwork mimicking the victim style. Unfortunately, I only have access to historical artists, and this means that the generic image generation models will already be familiar with the art styles. So if I wanted to try misleading the AI image generators, it would be more difficult to do so without original artworks. Other limitations I encountered included the perturbation budget, which is the fact that there's a limited amount of data in the digital images and put towards security measures while still maintaining the style and the features of the image. Also, I needed GPU access for training the models, and I plan to use Google Colab for this, but it's a paid service, so it can be quite costly. Overall, for my project, when compared to the approach that the developers of Glaze took, I wanted to think in terms of breaking versus misleading. I thought this could perhaps relieve me from having to consider and account for specific style features of the images. And the possibilities along that path is something that I'm definitely interested in exploring further. So on to my next steps. I wanted to start the development of my tool by making my own style mimicry attack using historical artists. This is a necessary first step so that I have a base case that I can compare with the output of the model when my design image mask is applied. Also, I wanted to explore more machine learning weaknesses um, with and to see if it could eliminate more possible avenues towards image purity for artists. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.